Really excited to welcome you here, and thank you, Eric, for making the time. It's a very, very interesting story how Eric got started in the video conferencing. He started at WebEx, which was 1999,
1997.
Right? 1997, okay.
I joined early on as one of the first several founding engineers. Yeah.
Right. And what made you interested in the video conferencing space itself? Tell people.
Oh, that's a long story actually, and it's back to 1987. And I was born in China, and I was in a city in college. My wife, she's 1 year older than me. She's another college. Back to 1987, it's a nightmare if I travel from one city to another city. It took me more than 10 hours, and also no direct train. And quite often I needed to take a train, over the night, and then take another train. And the train is extremely crowded. Quite often I can stand there, I can sleep for several hours because all the people around me, right? So the smell is horrible, right? And every time I would say, gee, why it took me so long? I was thinking one day, I would say, wow, someday if I can have a device, right? I can, talk with her, I can share something with her. I think that would be wonderful. That's how I thought about that, and that's 1987. So
yeah, so
I cannot connect the dots back then, but later on I came to the Valley in 1997. Yeah, so I realized that.
So all the investors making money from WebEx and Zoom can thank your wife, right?
That's my girlfriend at that time. So yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, that's a personal story. So yeah.
All right. All right. So fast forward 97, you joined WebEx. It's a great story. You scaled from 0 to 800 million revenue, got acquired by Cisco. In the process, you were running a very successful engineering team. And then you decided to leave and do it all over again. What was going on in your minds?
So first of all, back to the time when I came here in 1997. So, I was, before that, I was in China, right? So I gave up my own startup companies because at that time, I was thinking, probably it will take another 10 years for internet to be popular in China. So I was not patient. That's why I came here. But when I came here, I realized, wow, I wanted to join the sales team because I used to run my small startup company, but I have no idea how to sell. And also wanted to join the marketing team. They even do not have a product. I even do not speak English. I would say, how could I join the marketing team? And finally, I had no choice to write a code. And the good news, bad news, and my buggy code I wrote in 1998 is still running there. So sort of our competitor is good news for us, right? And because before I left, I spent a lot of time talking with customers. Quite often the customers say, hey, we are using this solution or Skype or WebEx, Google Meeting, Polycom, Tenable, you name it, so many solutions. But every time I did not see a single happy customers. I felt very embarrassed. I would say I spent so much time building something, but they do not like it. It gave me all kinds of reasons. I realized it's not our fault at that time because of the new problems. The WebEx, the solution we built before to address the old problems. That's the problem 1997, 1998. So new problems, you got to have a new solution. Cisco is a great company. I was corporate VP there. I still failed to convince other people to build a next generation solution. Quite often, companies, they do not want to cannibalize their existing solutions, except for Apple, maybe they did very well. So that's why I decided to leave. I really want to build something customer, they really enjoy using that solution. Every time when they use Zoom or any solution you build, they will say, I like that solution. Otherwise, they say, oh, you built that solution really sucks. You feel very bad, right? So that's a key reason I left. I want to build something customer really enjoy using that.
So that's a very interesting point. I want to double click on that point of customer happiness. I think a lot of companies or a lot of founders when they start, there's a seduction of building revenue, growing fast, but not a lot of focus on customer happiness. And I believe from my product background, I was lucky enough to be one of the first guys in Office 365, that product drives a lot of the happiness. So talk to me a little bit about like the pros and cons, the trade-offs between being a product-first company versus a sales and marketing-first company, because you are definitely a product-first company, right?
I think, in terms of, going fast or product-driven or sales or marketing-driven, I would say ultimately, the number one goal is you got to make sure the customers who already use your solution, they're happy. Otherwise, whatever you're doing not sustainable. So in our case, our philosophy is always to don't grow too fast.
Yeah.
Because we only have 24 hours a day. If you spend so much time, building up all those new features or spending time to chase after all the new prospect, who's going to care about those existing customers, right? If they are not happy very soon, even if you get 2 customers, the existing several customers, probably they are going to leave. So our philosophy always, focus on the product experience, make sure existing customers are very happy first. And after that, you probably still can get a lot of new customers indirectly, because your existing customers, they can refer to their, the friends or their network to share your story. So
that's great. That's great. Does that also kind of, as another question I think a lot of founders grapple with is inside sales versus field sales, right? And at what ARR level inside sales does not work and you need field sales. I think when I was chatting with you last time, you mentioned that Zoom actually is almost breaking the rules there. You were you're closing a lot of contracts through insights. I mean, is that is that a kind of a corollary of being product first?
I think we still follow the rules, so we don't want to break the rules. So, but anyway, in our case, because we build a software service, right? So normally the traditional, the VARs, software, channel partners, normally they cannot help you. So you got to make sure, driven by your direct sales team. So in our case, how to make sure the product ready? So, we did it on purpose. So we don't want to create a sales team unless, myself or engineers, we can sell to several customers first. And after that, we started, establishing our sales team. We hired the first one. And before he can close several deals, we don't want to hire another one, right? So kind of a step by step. And overall, the goal is every day, and when we get the customers, we monitor, the usage. We also always talk with these customers, are you happy or not, right? How do you use our solution? If they are very happy, and if we try to spend more time getting more customers. Right. So that's kind of what we did, yeah.
That's right. At what stage, I know a lot of founders have this question, and it's kind of, I don't know, there is a right or wrong answer. Maybe for a second-time entrepreneur, it's easier to hire C-level execs, right? At what stage, or at what ARR stage, or at what product stage would you recommend founders or CEOs hire their first marketing and sales hire? And is it like a director level hire, or is it more like a C-level hire, right?
So in our case, we always wanted to hire the director level, the executives, because we really want to hire those people who can grow themselves along with the company growth. You really do not want to hire some people who is overqualified. Otherwise, quite often every business is different. You would like they adapt to your business rather than you adapt to their past experience. So, and also if you hire those people who would like to grow themselves along with the company growth, guess what? They are also very loyal to the company. And also we do not want to hire a marketing, sales, support, at the same time. In our case, we hired the sales team first. And very soon, the sales team told me that, hey, we got to have a marketing team. Yeah. We needed to kind of generate more leads. I would say, no, don't do that. Because you spend money to generate leads, those leads may not be sustainable. So we specifically, did not create a marketing team until just, April of 2015. Several years later, we hired a sales team first.
Interesting.
And make sure we have enough organic growth. Because if a product works, you for sure you have a lot of organic leads. And then we create a marketing team to promote our brand. And then we build a CSM team, customer success team. So step by step. If you do at the same time, you do not know which one really helped you, get so many leads, help you close those deals. So.
That's very interesting. And by the way, Eric always tells me you want to grow in a balanced way. You want to not spend a lot of money, but his balanced growth is like 300% growth. That's the new balance, right?
Yeah, that's all of our control. But always, I like to use that analogy. So, if you grow too fast, see, I live in the San Jose. I come here. If I drive here like 80 miles per hour, probably compared to like 60 miles an hour, maybe just to come here like 10 minutes earlier. However, the risk is very high, right? So you might get a ticket, right? And why do you want to take that risk? Better conservative, right? Be paranoid every day. Don't grow too fast, grow steadily. I think that makes more sense because everything we are thinking, make sure everything we are doing is sustainable, right? We do not want to, like a growth like this, suddenly like this.
So actually, let me ask you this. So what are the trade-offs when you compare yourself? I mean, obviously the one interesting thing is the first meeting we had was in your offices in Santa Clara when every other SaaS company was opening up 2 blocks from here, right? So you were definitely very frugal on the rent and everything else. But leaving aside rent, right? Like when you compare yourself with other companies, what are the trade-offs that you think are important in terms of building a sustainable business that you think you made versus what you see outside?
I think that's a wonderful question. I think it boils down to, how do you feel, right? Do you feel happy or not? Make sure your customer happy, right? If whatever you're doing, you feel like, yes, it's everything under control, right? So we feel pretty happy, I just do it. Otherwise, don't follow what others did. May not apply to you. So you got to make sure you understand your team, understand your business. In our case, our culture is to deliver happiness, right? So everything centers around that. If the team can deliver happiness, we do it. We double down on that. We feel like something we should not do because could cause some problems. We are not going to do that. So we do not think about maybe in 2 years double your market cap, your valuation, or maybe get a lot of other new customers, maybe 300 growth. That's not what we are thinking about every day. We really think about employees happy and us customer happy. So.
That actually brings me to a very interesting question. Employee culture, right? Employee happiness. I mean, all of us know the secret to building a really big company, one of the key areas is hiring the right employees, retaining those employees. And I think you told me you never fire anyone, right? Is that
no? We did.
Or very, very restrained.
Yeah, we did fire
some,
because.
Okay. But your retention rate is very, very high.
Yeah, because normally there's three types of issues, in terms of employee problems. First of all, maybe the performance is not good. The second one could be they have an integrity issue, right? The third one could be, just some employees, they cannot get along well, right? So for the first one, we know how to do that, right? If performance is not good, we never want to fire you. We really want, as long as you join our company, we really want to help you, right? Manager, you cannot fire anyone. The manager also cannot fire anyone. Should it be always up to me? I want to say, could I help this employee or not? If I also cannot help, sorry, we all tried. We cannot help you. That's kind of our solution. If you have an integrity problem, for sure we are going to fire them. Very, very fast. And the third type of a problem, employee cannot get along well. We have no idea, so we do not know how to handle that. So we let them, directly deal, by themselves. So overall, employee happiness is really important. I can share the story why. I had an engineer background. I managed a lot of engineers back to Cisco WebEx timeframe. And I found one thing interesting because I draw, I think, look at the employee, because I remember like WebEx went public, that's year 2000. And quite often at that time, the company stock up and down. I draw, the WebEx stock, I would see the chart, and versus the number of bugs we created. Amazingly, there's something like this. I would say, wow, that's interesting. Finally, I found one thing is engineers, specifically engineers, if they are happy, the code quality is great. They do not create a lot of bugs, right? If not happy, wow, is the code crashed, that kind of issue. Because when they are writing the code, they think about something else. And very soon I found, happiness is really important. Originally I thought probably that philosophy only applied to engineers, but later on I also realized it can be applied very well to sales team as well. Because if they are happy every day, when they talk with customers, they really think about how to help customers. Customers feel like, that's a trust. If they are not happy, customers also can feel that. Also, this company, they really not care about me. They just want to kind of close this deal. So finally I realized, happiness, that's really important. That's kind of a sort of a secret sauce, yeah.
That's actually very interesting. So customer happiness, I can understand, right? I mean, you give a great product which works on all kinds of platform, which Zoom does. Customers are happy.
But if your employees not happy, you can never make a customer happy.
How do you, what makes your employees happy? Like what are the one or two things? I mean, obviously you can pay them millions, which as a startup it's hard, right? So as a startup, like what are the things one or two things that you could do differently to make your employees happy?
So in our case, in our company's value, it boils down to our company value. So our value is just one word, care. So really let employees realize after they join the company, we really care about them, right? Our value is care about all of our employees. We care about the community where we live. We care about the customer. We care about the company. We care about the teammates. We also care about ourselves. So every day, whatever we're doing, we keep talking about that, right? So we have also great examples we're going to share. Ultimately, if your employees really understand, this is a company, my teammates really care about us, I think they will be happy. And not because you pay them a lot of money, it gives them a lot of stock. I think, don't get me wrong, all those great if you can, but it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
It's really not sustainable. Yeah.
How do you handle tricky employee situations with regards to happiness?
Yeah. So first of all, you got to understand what's the exact problem. When something happens, don't be eager to have a solution, to take some actions. Don't do that. You got to take a step back. If you really care about somebody, you really understand what had happened. Because of performance, or because maybe your skill set, or maybe because something changed, your process changed, right? You really understand the exact problem. And then do all you can to figure out what's the root cause. Maybe your company does not have a good training program. Or maybe employees, they already escalated those problems to you, but the senior management team, they sort of ignore that, right? It's not an employee problem, it's your problem. And if you know the root cause, then you can build a solution to fix that completely. I think overall, quite often I found, some problem happens, ultimately that's not an employee's problem. It's your management problem, or maybe your culture issue. You got to take a step back, really fix from root cause level. Otherwise, you think you fix that problem, but guess what? That problem could happen again and again. So,
yeah, I think say it in a different way. What you're probably alluding to is with the startup growing, you also need to put in place an organizational structure of actually dealing with this, which...
Don't do that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Ideally, you make the structure very, very flat, right? And also you cannot count on, or you have, I would say the HR, a big HR team, they got to be responsible for that. Uh-huh. If you do that, guess what? All employees, they will be very reactive. They will see, that's HR problem. They never thought about that's their problem. Ideally, you do not have build a big HR team. I like HR, but make sure that, especially for startup company, you make sure all employees, they got to realize, they need to help. They need to proactively help. And don't count on, some other departments. Otherwise, you build I think more like a bigger company, HR team, and also a lot of, process. I think that's not a good idea. Ideally, it should be every employee's responsibility. In our case, we really want our employees happy. We even have a chief happiness officer. Huh. But guess what? That's not a full-time job. She's our, sales account executive. That's her part-time job. And she's thought about all those ideas, share with employees. Every Friday we have a theme. It's kind of a part-time job.
It's really interesting, but when you think of how many employees do you have today?
We have a little bit over 400.
400?
Yeah, 400.
So 400 it's understandable. Like you can still keep things pretty flat, but when you grow from 400 to 4,000 to 15,000, do you think this still scales? How do you think about that?
I don't know, because I never had that experience before. But if we can grow to like 5,000, I still think I want to have a very flat, structure. And I hate bureaucracy, and I came from that world, so.
As I said, you want to break rules, but do it the right way.
Yeah. Overall, it kind of you got to trust your employees. Make sure this is their company as well. They got to be responsible. Don't let them count on somebody else. That's why. Anyways, I do not know if that works or not. But at least for the size of a Zoom, like several hundred employees, probably that's the best.
That's great.
Structure.
No, that's a great discussion. In the competitive video conferencing market, how does Zoom's product stand up to others?
Yeah, so before I answer to that question, I also think in not only the video conferencing, every product, every sector, every the business you're trying to enter, also the commodity. You cannot, I would say, find a sector where you are the only player. So video conferencing also is not an exception, right? So also for sure is very crowded, compared to a lot of other, the market. The reason why I think we're better is because, as I mentioned, early on. So before we build a solution, we really spend time talking with the customers, really understand the pain point. And after that, we were not eager to address that problem. Just quickly, grab some open source code. Right? 6 months later, see, we have a solution. But guess what? That's not sustainable. After I left Cisco, the top 45, top 50 engineers who built WebEx before, they all left. They followed me. For the first 2 years, we were just heads down to the product side. Without doing anything, just to build a foundation. 2 years for so many engineers. So that's why our foundation, the platform, is very strong compared to any other solutions. Quality is much better. We build our codec. From an architecture perspective, we are better. Another reason is, every day, maybe also we did something a little bit differently. And we do not have a product manager, for a long time. Until last year, we had 4 years. 4 years later, we had the first product manager. The reason why I want to make sure those engineers, they listen to the customers. Because otherwise, they all talk with the product managers in case something's wrong. Like they got to see, engineers, you do not have PM. What can they do? The only source you can get is talk with the customers, understand the customer pinpoint. I think that's another difference. I think overall, I do not think there's any secret sauce. Just every day we work harder. We listen to customers. We really care about customers. We make our solution better and better every day.
So to add on to that question. So I can understand the product quality is great, but does pricing also play a role? How do you think about pricing?
Yeah, pricing, I always like the idea to leave the money on the table. If you can charge a customer, say like $10 a month, don't charge them 12 or 11, just to charge 10 or less. I think, that's back to also advice I got. I really like, the Walt Mossberg, right? He's a blogger, very famous. Actually, he introduced the Zoom to the world. And that's several years ago, he wrote a very nice blog. And, on that day, we got more than 50,000 users. He shared, and also sent me an email. Eric, down the road, when your solution ready, make sure, don't give a fair price. Don't charge customers, just squeeze, on that. So our philosophy always make sure leave the money on the table. Even if we can charge you more, we don't want to do that. Because we really want the customer understand, we want to build a long-term sustainable partnership. So more like, you have a friend, right? So you want to build the friendship, that's something similar, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point because in a recurring revenue business, your renewal rate is also very important. And if you're actually leaving money on the table, next time when it comes time to renew, it's almost an automatic renewal because your competitors are still really high price with a similar or inferior product, right?
That's one of the questions. Ideally, you want a customer, they found out that, wow, those two solutions similar. How come the company A like Zoom, they only charge us like $14.99 a month? another solution that really sucks, but charge us 3 times more. And guess what? If a customer found that, they are going to share the story with their friend. They don't try that solution is much better. More like, hey, you sell the Tesla, right? It's kind of, better price than any other cars. For sure, you want to share with everybody. Let's go get the Tesla, only like, 15,000. So,
Well, I think to that end,
I want that price though. So, yeah. Yeah.
To that end, I think what you shared with me was initially some of your customers thought you were a scam, right? Offering better product for like 1/3 the price, and was that it's hard to convince people for, especially on the enterprise. I mean, on the consumer side, it's probably easier to sell, but on the enterprise side, people want the credibility, reputation as well, right?
That's right. That's a little bit of challenge because the conventional wisdom, especially if you talk about enterprise, if they saw your price very low, they are going to suspect, oh, your solution for sure not good. And we also do not know how to fix that problem. That's why 2 years ago we increased our price by 50%, and from $9.99 to $14.99, that the problem is fixed. So it's still much better than any other solutions. And it's really hard because a lot of large enterprise IT, they do not believe that. They say, oh, your solution is great. How come your price is so low? We do not believe that. It happens. So, and it's really hard to convince. Every time our sales rep, when we share that price with customers, very few believe in us. So finally, we're good. Let's increase price. So that's good. And also we got a further price for our existing customers, and new customers, got a little bit higher price. So. However, if you start at a higher price, down the road you need to lower the price, there's a lot of problems. So you better start from a lower price, give you more flexibility.
What kind of customers did you pursue through the journey of the company, and did that change over the lifetime of the company?
So we targeted knowledge workers. For sure, we wanted to start from SMB all the way up to large enterprise. But how to get it there, every company is different. In our case, we started from SMB first, because we believe if you start from SMB, you make your product better and better. Down the road, you can talk with large enterprise customers. If you start from large enterprise customers, it's really hard, come down to target SMB customers. So that's why when we started, we focus on SMB customers. We do have a freemium product to target those prosumers as well. But 3 years ago, and quite often, our SMB customers, they are using our service, talk with large enterprise customers, also, get our service exposed to large enterprise customers, and then we have more and more large enterprise customers as well. So ultimately, we want to focus on both SMB and the large enterprise. You cannot say, oh, I only focus on one segment. It's hard. However, if you start from a large enterprise and only focus on large enterprise, if your solution, say like a Workday or ServiceNow, that also is great, because you focus on large enterprise, overall, software service, the churn is very low, right? If you can do that, this is great, but at least in our case, it's very hard. So, yeah.
So, I mean, talking about that SMB, starting with an SMB, I think a well-known problem with SMB is the systemic churn, right? Businesses go out of business. How did you deal with that in the initial days? It must have been hard for you to deal with the systemic churn where you don't have any control. Your product works great, but you still lose revenue.
So, because in our case, we have a sort of a three segments. The prosumers, who just go online to buy one account or one seat. And also have an SMB customer, also have a third segment is a large enterprise. Our SMB and large enterprise, the churn is very manageable, it's very low, especially for large enterprise, very low. The churn is coming from the online buyers, they just go online to buy one. I think it's really hard to kind of improve the churn over there, because the reason why, they buy your service, they use this month, next 2 months they are traveling, they may not use our solution, but that's okay, because they will come back. So as long as when they are using the service, make sure they are happy. Even if they cancel, that's okay. Someday they will come back, because there's all kinds of other reasons why they cancel the service. So, we see a lot of, the customers who went our website and, subscribe to 1 month and use it for several months, pretty happy, and they canceled. But several months later, they come back. That's okay, because, we view I would say the low and the pursuit market more like a marketing platform. They help us to spread the word. If there's no revenue, that's okay. If there's revenue, coming out of that segment, that's even better. So
it's great insight. So if you are building for the long term, for a sustainable, you want to build a platform versus a product. I guess the question is, how do you innovate, turn the product into a platform at the same time listening to your customers?
Yeah, I think for ultimately the platform, that's a goal. If you can build a platform, build a big ecosystem, your business model probably more sustainable. But however, it's really hard to build a platform. You got to have a killer app first. If you spend too much time to build a platform without a killer app, your platform not sustainable. See, if you have a platform, I will look at your business, you even do not have a killer app. Why want to build something, upon your platform, right? Like you look at Salesforce, they have a killer app first, and then have a Salesforce Exchange platform. I would say focus on your killer app, make sure customer happy. And if you already have a lot of customers, third party, or maybe developers, they wanted to talk with you to let you open up your platform. You see the real demand, then do it. Otherwise, if you focus on platform too early, I think it may not help you, and it could be a big distraction. Yeah.
What's the right balance between upselling and acquiring new revenue?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question. Every day we also talk about that, in our meetings. Ultimately, I think as long as there's no conflict, ideally create two teams. One is upsell team, another is account team, just to chase after the new prospect. However, the conflict will come, if they send you feedback, say like features, right? And also, there was some conflict. If that happens, you focus on, I would say, upsell opportunity, because those are existing customers. Anytime there's conflict between the existing customers versus the new customers, we always prioritize, for those existing customers. That's why upsell opportunity more important than the new customer. However, it's really hard. Every case, is different, and every day we also sort of struggled. So it's not that easy. Yeah.
Question is confidentiality, privacy issues going to the cloud.
Yeah, it's very important. That's why even we talk about software service for many years. Enterprise, they did not kind of embrace a public cloud solution until recently. That's one of the key reasons. That's why when we designed the product, from every layer, we make sure first of all your service is very secure, and also in our case it's sort of relatively straightforward because we don't want to record anything by default. Meaning after your video conference is over, nothing left over in our backend side. Metadata, we do have that. However, the metadata normally we do have a feature set. You see, I scheduled a meeting, that meeting very sensitive. I don't want to send the meeting subject line to our cloud. That's fine, you can configure that. So we kind of give customer flexibility. If you trust us, you can send those meeting subject line to us. If you do not, you can disable that feature. Overall, like we also have healthcare customers. We have HIPAA compliance. We also send BAA. Like we also have we also have a persistent in the chat room feature, right? Have file sharing, all those features. If you do not feel comfortable, that's fine. You can disable all those features. You got to give specifically for enterprise customers, you got to give them flexibility. If they don't trust any feature, they can turn off. Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting. I was talking to the CIO of Ashley Furniture today for a different context, and I asked him, being one of the older traditional companies, are you afraid of moving data into the cloud? And what he told me was very interesting. He told me, I only have 200 people in my company doing security, and the SaaS company that I'm trusting with probably has 5,000, or AWS has 5,000. So it's probably not an issue for me right now. So I think there are customers who are forward thinking, but there are customers that are not forward thinking, but slowly people are transitioning over, and that hindrance is not there anymore.
Please connect him to me.
I will. I'm a big champion of Zoom.
To let them switch to
Yuan. How do you think about financing, capitalizing?
Yes, that's very tough, and every company is different. So, in our case, because I know actually it will take us maybe at least 1.5 years, 2 years to build a product. So when I raised the money, first of all, we started from those angel investors. And I really like those investors who really, kind of sort of trust me or invest in me, not in our business. 2 of our angel investors, they even do not know what we're doing after several months. So, but that's good news because we told them, it takes some time to build a product. And at that time, we also do not know how long it will take. That's why when I left Cisco, I wanted to raise $2 million. And finally, I realized I better raise like 50% more. So I raised $3 million. It turned out that's the right thing to do because we started 1.5 years, but guess what? It took us 2 years. So with the $3 million, we give us enough time, for us to raise the A round. Overall, I think ideally, if you want to raise, say, like a 10 million, you better raise 12, 15 million. You never know what's going to happen, Also, try to talk with those investors who really like you, invest in you, right? Otherwise, if they invest into your business, quite often your business is up and down, you can pivot the business. If they invest in your business, I think down the road, there might have a conflict. I think the Qualcomm Ventures also our investor, where's Patrick? And Patrick is somewhere.
There he is.
Yeah. This is a great example. Patrick, told me that, and such his partner, we really like your background. We really want to invest in you. Just to tell us what we can do to help. And I also pretty sure Patrick also did not know what I'm doing at that time.
As are most investors, right?
Yeah.
They're all clueless.
Yeah, that's the best investor. Exactly. That's the best investor. If they always spend time to deep dive, why you do this, why you do that, normally that's not a good sign, actually. Yeah.
So, jokes aside. Jokes aside, though, there's one point I want to really stress here. I keep telling this to a lot of entrepreneurs I meet. Financing and fundraising, you should even consider this more seriously than probably your marriage because you can get out from your marriage with a divorce. You cannot get out of your investors. So this is a very, very, very tricky.
By the way, I add one more thing because Joydeep is so right. I also like to use that analogy. More like when you were young, you want to think about who to marry, right? You don't want to date with those like always ask about, hey, how much money you have? What's your family background? Are you going to be a millionaire or not, right? You really like the girl really kind of I just want to marry with you, right? That's kind of a similar philosophy. So,
all right, we talk the same romantic language. So profitability and competition.
Yeah, I think overall the cash flow really important, right? If you have a positive cash flow, even if you are not profitable, you still can survive. So profitability, I think, may not be the most important thing. The cash flow positive is really important. I think early on, if you can be cash flow positive, that's also our philosophy. Even if we raise a lot of money, we still want to be cash flow positive. Last year, we also cash flow positive because you want to control your destiny. I always think about that. Don't assume your investors, they are going to give you more money. Anything could happen like year 2000 or 2008, right? So I think about how to be cash flow positive early on, really important, yeah.
So how do you keep your team motivated during the product building phase, right?
That's a wonderful question, actually. The trick I used is I always, from time to time, I let them try other product. I would say, do you want to build something similar or you want to build something better? And one of our competitors, they raised a lot of money. And the engineers, they say, oh, they raised so much money, we still don't have a product. I would say, don't worry, let's all try that product. After they try, they say, what? That product does not work. They raised $50 million from a famous VC. I would say, yes, if you can build something better, you can raise 100 million.
And you did.
Every time I use that, it works so well. Seriously, engineers really like that. And for sure, you got to make sure before that you kind of find out those either bugs or the product issues, and then you should present it to your team. They work very hard. They say, wow, I think that anyway, that's what we did.
So how do you scale as a CEO of the company?
I do not think there's any difference between today and versus several years ago. I just kind of like have a more, the departments. When we started, we have engineers, and then we created a sales team, and then support team, and then customer success team, and then marketing team, and then HR team, and then business operation team. So step by step. And we still do not like have a general counsel or CFO or CIO. We do not have that yet. So we still like very similar to what we started early on. So,
but don't you at some point, like, are you not more removed from your leaf level customer success manager or the engineer who's, you only have so many hours in the day. Do you feel like removed from the front lines?
So in my case, before we have a customer, I spend probably 80% of the time on product side. After I have customers, I spend around 70-80% of the time on customer side. Quite often I need to sell as well. But I understand that's not scalable, but down the road probably back to the product side. But always you got to make sure adapt yourself to your business. If a sales team needs some help, or if you want to spend more time with customers, just do it. If the sales team can handle that very well, you come back to the product. So I think overall, you got to be flexible, and that's probably, I did not feel there's any change. Everything is sort of like organic. And also, I needed to spend more time with large enterprise customers. Every day I look at my calendar, all the meetings is large enterprise customers. So
interesting. Yeah. So how do you prioritize the product features?
Always think about the simplicity. Don't add too many features. Just focus on if you can focus on one use case, don't focus on two. Just focus on one use case, get that done so well. And then get the first happy customers, gradually add more and more features, but don't add too many things, when you release your version 1 to the customer. Focus on one use case, make it so simple, very straightforward, very easy to use. I think that's the most important thing. You got to think about how to, not add too many features. Otherwise, it's really hard to manage. Yeah.
Oh, when you started growing the sales,
it sort of backs to every day where you spend the time, right? So see, before our product fully ready, for sure I spend all the time on product side. After the product ready, we started selling to our customers. Every day we see the customer, they have a feedback, they have all kind of thing. I look at it from a company perspective, that's a top priority. I got to focus on that. If today is still top priority, I still focus on that. Until the customer see they are pretty happy, and finally customer told us, I needed those several features. Those kind of things become the top priority. Okay, I focus on that. Normally, I only focus on the top priority across the whole company, either product, sales, or support, whatever. I put everything together. I ask myself, which one is more important? Which one I can help more to help to move the needle? Then I do that. Yeah. Otherwise, it's really hard. You cannot say my interest only on product side. I only focus on product side. That's not scalable.
So how do you manage enterprise sales cycles?
First of all, don't put those sales reps who are not patient, to deal with the enterprise customers. It's a long sales cycle. And if you're lucky enough, you can close an account within 1 quarter, 2 quarters. Because large enterprise, you look at it from their perspective, if they want to sort of deploy your solutions, too fast, it's not responsible from their perspective, because it's so big organization, and the process-wise, and they might be using other solutions as well. To switch from any solution to other new solution will take some time. If you understand that, you can plan well. You say, this customer, don't plan like 2 months, 3 months. This is 1 year or 18 months, that's okay. As long as eventually can get that customer, that's okay, right? So at the same time, you also need to have SMB customers, major accounts, commercial, accounts as well. So, large enterprise is part of that. I think with that, you can sort of balance, your revenue stream. Yeah. Overall, I think you gotta be patient. Yeah, and no secret sauce. You can close a large enterprise account, within the 2 to 3, months. It's really hard, unless you are the CIO of that enterprise.
Well, so be patient and build a sustainable business.
That's maybe last question.
Oh, okay. Incentives for replacing.
Yeah, it's very common. You got to have a buyout program because customer, they already pay, especially a lot of enterprise, they prefer like, they pay upfront. They already paid to your competitor solution for say like 3 years. And they really do not like the solution, but however, guess what? The contract is still like, 18 months away. So we see, that's fine, we buy out. And, that's pretty, the common case. Otherwise, you wait until, last months, you never know what's going to happen. Plus, the customers, they say, wow, really, kind of do not like the solution. You also do not give your solution to us, meaning you do not care about them, right? If you really care about them, you let them use your free service for a while. Also, you can start establishing the trust, between, your company and the customers. So, yeah, it's pretty, I think, common. Yeah.
It's great. Awesome. Well, a big hand for Eric. Thank you so much.